This episode of Legends, the series, is brought to you by these fine companies.
You look at a stat sheet of what you've achieved during your career. Can you look at it and say, hey, maybe I am somewhat of a legend for this era?
I don't think of myself. I don't know. I think about Tom Brady when they ask him what his favorite Super Bowl win is. And his line was, the next one. I'm like, I love that line, because it's like you go through the process, you do all the workout through the the off season, and you train, and then you grind through the games or the races or whatever like that, and then at the end of the season when they stack up the points, like you're trying to be the guy on top. And it's like once you do that and you're on the stage and you do all that, right at that point, it's over. And then you're all tied again for next year. Like, you got to go back to work and hit it again. And it's like, if you're sitting back like, wow, look how great I am, there's somebody else that's going to be busting their ass to like try and knock you down. Me being a drag racer, I never really thought any different than that's what we do. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, before I was born, I've been coming to the drag races with my parents. Had the top fuel car in the garage, and that's what my dad did. Built the motors and then put the motors in and got his buddies, and then you run out to the Lyons and Orange County or Wendell, all the local tracks at the time, and that's just what you did. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So I don't know that I really thought about anything different with my life other than just drag racing. My dad never pushed drag racing on me. He retired in '79. That put me in the middle of grade school, hadn't quite hit high school yet, and so there was like a lull, but I was already hooked. I was hitching rides with teams that lived in the San Fernando Valley, which is where I grew up. Prudhomme being one of them, and he didn't even know it. It was your buddies with the crew guys, and it's like, hey, can I get a ride? So I get a ride to Orange County or Bakersfield. Bill Meropoulos, Dwight Salisbury. There was a few guys that would give me rides to the track, because when my dad quit, he quit. Like, he didn't go out to the track. He probably didn't go out to the track until I got on with a team. So I was kind of finning for myself at that point.
But in the second round of racing, it was Garlitz on the starting line in front of 2,000 horsepower against Larry Dixon. The car going into violent shake. He moved toward the center of the lane, and Dixon won it. 5.99 seconds his time, 241 miles an hour.
I never really tried to talk my dad out of quitting. I don't know that I was really in position to do that. I have to think I'm 12, 13 years old or something like that, and it's not. Dad's done and he's moving on. So, and then it's like, wow, okay, now what do we do? So and he, the last year that he raced, he spent a lot of time on the road, not in the terms that you would think of today, but for him, it was a lot. They ran, back then he ran the nitro cars at points meets. And then, there was 8, 10, 12 national events that you would also run too, and you collected your points from both of them, similar to what the alcohol cars, or the sportsman cars do nowadays. He did that with the fuel cars as well. So he ran Division I and Division II and ran all the national events, and it was a lot of time on the road. And he didn't the road's not for everybody. Like I learned, it's a definite. You have to change your mindset when you decide that you're going to go on the road, because everything that you have at home, you're not at home anymore. And fast forward till now, you make your home in Indianapolis or where the racing team is, and then it works. But back then, you'd pack your bags. I'd pack my bags in March, and I'd be on the road until we came home after Dallas, which would be in October. Like, that's how it was. You lived in a suitcase and hotel to hotel, and that's how it was. And he didn't like it that much. It wasn't that much fun. So he went home, and I'm trying to figure out how I could be in a hotel. I'll go back to like when I actually got paid to be on a pit crew, and that took a couple years before I could talk a team into letting me be one. And it ended up being with Larry Minor, and my godfather worked on the team still from when my dad drove, and he stayed there when there was Beck, Minor, and Ed McCullough were the drivers at the time. And so they let me, they hired me. I made like $240 a week, I think it was at the time. And when I started, I didn't even get to work on the car. I was the grunt. Like, I washed oil pans, I cleaned the trailer, I cleaned the bathrooms, I pulled the body panels off the car and wiped the body down. But I didn't get to work on the car. It wasn't until probably halfway through that first season where they let me get underneath the car and pull the pan down, and then it was like real work at that point. But it took a long time, and I liken it to the same thing with the studios. Growing up out in California, it's really hard to get in. But then once you get in and people see that you're out there, then you're in the club more or less, and you can move around and find the place that makes the most sense for you. It's very hard when you start out, and I'll say then. And it might be different now. I don't really know, to be honest with you. How guys look at it nowadays. But like when you pack up everything, the first 20 years of my life I spent in the San Fernando Valley and didn't really travel a whole lot and all that. And then you pick up and you move to Hemet, which Hemet's not that far away. But I'm working every day now, and then you're going with them to the races and all that. And all your buddies and all your family and everything that you had at home is at home. And we didn't even have cell phones back then, so it was calling cards, and it was expensive. So you literally shut off the rest of your world, and you're on the road, literally. So that was tough. I think just not having that contact. It's probably a little bit different now. I mean, gosh, you can FaceTime every day, so it's a different world we live in. But back then, it was, you'd leave in March and come home in October. Like that, you work your assets, whatever you can bring to the table, and try to exploit that. Some people are good at selling, and they can bring money, and that gets them to where they want to go. Some people got parents, that'll help them. Other ones, like I didn't have any of that. I just worked my tail off, on the car, and that's what got me in the door. And, I was fortunate that, fast forwarding a little bit from minors, when it came time to like wanting to drive for Don Prudhomme, that he liked the fact that I worked on the car and I wasn't of money and couldn't buy my way in. It was like I needed somebody to give me a shot, and he did.
I just got to know, do you walk up to Don Prudhomme and say, hey, can I drive your car, or how does that work out?
Snake has he definitely didn't hand me the keys to his car and let me drive it just like that. But he had, at the time the crews are small. Like now it's, 8, 10 people on a team. But back then it was, you had 3 guys and your crew chief, and like that was it. So you're a tight bunch. There's only 3 hotel rooms for the whole team. So you'd bunk up, 2 each and Snake, and like that was it. But he took a genuine interest in his guys and where they wanted to go. Some wanted to be crew chief. Some didn't want to do anything different than what they were doing. Like me, like he asked me what, I'm like, I want to drive. And he's like, really? Like, well, how are you going to get there? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll figure it out, but if I can't drive, the next best thing is working on these cars and being close to them. So that's what happened. And so I'm going to fast forward because I started working there in 1988. He gave me a Christmas bonus one time, and it would have been like 1990 or 91 of going to Frank Holly's school. And just, like, if you keep talking about this, let's go see if you can do it. So I went to Gainesville and ran the alcohol car and did that and didn't do anything dumb. So fast forward a couple years, got an opportunity to drive an alcohol car, and left Prudhomme's and went and did that for a season. That would have been 1993. And drove an A-field car, drove a blown car for John Mitchell at the time in the alcohol class. And then, but I was broke. Like, I had spent all my savings and everything to be able to do that because I wasn't getting paid anything to do that. It was just like, you put your time in and we'll let you drive the car. So I did that. And then I ran up all the credit cards I could sign up for. And then came back to work for Snake. It's 1994, got Wes Cerny, he's tuning the car, and this is his last season that he's driving. He doesn't have any plans of racing past 1994. This is it for him. But he's going to go out, and he's going to go out, as strong as he can. So he's got, Cerny was a really, really good crew chief. And so I wanted to be on the team, I liked working there when I was there, all the years before that, and he had a shop in my hometown, so it worked out great. But Wes and Snake, early in the season, the first year, Wes wanted to go testing, and Snake had a commitment, like an appearance somewhere, and he couldn't test, so they're trying to find somebody to drive the car. And so they get in an argument over it, and Snake's mad because it's like he really does want to test, but he can't, and he doesn't want to woe the team up from improving themselves and being a better product when we get to the track. So it's getting heated, and then finally he looks over at me, and I'm building short blocks, and I'm over here and I'm washing parts in the solvent tank. He's like, why don't you go get him his license, and then that way you guys can go test anytime you want, because I already had an alcohol license. I'm listening to this, I'm like, my head down washing parts, and I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome, Gainesville, getting ready for Gainesville, and it was like, hey, we're going to stay over and test, and we're going to put you in the car and get your license if everything goes well. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, now I'm on the road. I don't even have my equipment with me. And you didn't bring your driving equipment? I'm like, no way. I would never be that cocky to think that I would ever have it. I would rather have it be a pain. So I had all my driving suit and all that stuff from alcohol, had it shipped to Indy, and I got fitted for the car, and then we ran Gainesville and then stayed over on the Monday after and let me make a few runs. There was excitement. I don't know that I slept a whole lot the night before getting to drive, just because it's like, wow, this is your break. Like, I don't know, what am I, 25, 26 at the time. Maybe not, and whatever I was, but I didn't, this is my one shot. Like, I'm not gonna get another shot. And so, that's in the back of your mind. You can't force it, but you also know you're not gonna get a lot of opportunities to do this. So, but I sat in the car, but for years, Snake didn't like sitting in the car for the warm-up, so going through all that process in the pit area, all that stuff was just, I don't know. It's like I tell people now, it's like when I get in the car, it's like my office. It just feels right. So it's like getting in and doing all of that kind of stuff, I knew how to do that. And then when you get on the track, you know what the car looks like, and you know what it should feel like. So you're just hoping it's going to go the way you hope it will. But I can tell you what, when I stood on the gas for that very first run, and that's a planned half-track run, run to half track, shut it off, The things that I could tell you about it that are still crystal clear in my mind is how quiet the car was then. It's so loud on the starting line. It's crazy loud. But in that car with the exhaust pointing back, it was really quiet. And we didn't have the shielding and all that on the cars back then. But it was quiet. You could almost hear the blower gears and the gear drive and all that. And I was fascinated with that. The other thing that I was fascinated with is when it's hooked up and then the clutch, clutch is slipping a bunch off the starting line, but when it stopped slipping, it took off pretty good, better than the alcohol car that I was used to. But when that clutch starts coming in, gosh, it's like a James Bond movie, like where you're just going through a time zone. And that was those are the things I took. I run it to half track, I shut it off, I coast the rest of the way down the quarter mile. I run 590 at 190. The quickest I'd ever gone in the whole year that I was driving for John Mitchell was 6 flat. And I went to half track, shut off, and go, it's 590. And I'm like, dang, it's like, that lets you know the power level of these cars. Come back, now you're gonna get 3/4 track, 1,000 foot. You run to 1,000 foot, shut it off. So everything's right. So I run to 1,000 foot. Just before 1,000 foot, it puts a hole out. I could hear it and feel it, because your mind is collecting everything. Shut it off, coast through, runs 490, 495. Ran a 4-second run. There was people that were racing that hadn't even made a 4-second run yet. They had top fuel lights in it, and I'm like, I'm done. If I never, I made a 4-second run in a top fuel car, and then it started raining. So it doesn't even look like we're going to get to run. And I didn't even care. To be honest with you, I really didn't. Because it was man, I got in. I didn't do anything dumb. And everybody's happy. And then things quiet down. And so the weather got cleared up. Gainesville, blows through, comes, goes, whatever like that. Track dries. Okay, we're going to get another run. Wes asked me, what'd you think of that? And I'm like, well, it felt pretty good, but and the problem that I've had, good and bad, depending on how you look at it. It's like when you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer, whether you want to hear it or not. I'm going to tell you what I think, and that's got me in trouble a lot, and it's also let me keep jobs for a really long time. So Wes asked me, what did I think of it? And I'm like, well, I go, the way it left the starting line, it really hiked the front end up like it was climbing the ring gear. And the word that I used was, it felt like it was down on power. Here's a kid, he made his second run in a top fuel car, and he's using that word. But standing on the starting line, if I was watching the car and it did that, that's what I would have thought, So it climbs the ring gear, and it chapped him a little bit that I said that. But he was good. He was good with me. But it's like, okay, so and when you make adjustments to these top fuel cars, you do it in 2-pound increments and such. He put 15 pounds of front end weight on the car, so it ain't gonna climb the ring. It ain't gonna wheel stand. And he stood on the gas with the car, and it's like, all right. So you go back up there, and it's like, if everything's fine, run it to the finish line. So left the starting line, and it was fine. It didn't climb. Got on down there, and it got right to the first light, and it put a cylinder out again, and you can hear the engine pitch change. Yeah, I could hear so good back then without the shielding on it. Like that, and I clicked it off, and the car runs 476 at 290 or something like that. Well, the quickest Snake had gone in the car to that point, quickest run he'd ever made was a 479, and I just went 476, and I was on cloud 9, not for me, but for our team. We ran 476, we're right on national record times, and the Colettas were the cars to beat, Scott and Connie, and Tim's over there, and LaHaye, they just owning that place. And so I was I was thrilled from that standpoint, we got a car we can go beat these guys with. And but I was driving the car, and I got that for a time slip, and it was awesome. So and you know, and I won't put words in anybody's mouth, but like Snake at the time, you know, what he said was he was excited. He didn't feel like he needed to be in the car, that he still got joy out of watching the car go down the track and doing that. So from that point on, Skoll wasn't going to be, you know, he had the Skoll Bandit dragster, and they weren't going to come back and race, so it was like, well, you had to find another sponsor. And if he did find a sponsor, I could have a ride. Well, you know what? Like, I've been living my whole life like that. If you have a sponsor, you got to ride. You know, well, there's no guarantees, but fortunately, you know, they were able to put a deal together with Miller Brewing and had them for 12 years. But yeah, that was a cool weekend in March in 1994.
Now, Larry's learning curve has been a steep one. In fact, you might even say it's been a crash course.
Larry Dixon, 4.80 to the finals.
Thanks a lot. You know, I appreciate it, but owe it all to Wes Cerny and the whole Miller crew. Everybody's been working their tails off the last couple weeks. Got another new car and third car in 3 weeks, so I'm just happy to be here.
Who would you like to race in the final? Corey Mack or Shelly Anderson?
I don't care. I'd be happy to race anybody in the final.
That is going to happen.
I won a national event, second race out. Yeah. That was, there's a lot of things that you think about when it finally came to realization, because, you know, oh, you got a deal, and I'm like, I don't have a deal. When I'm at the Winter Nationals in the car and it's got my name on the side of it and I'm doing the burnout, then I know I got the deal. Until then, like, I wasn't going to get my hopes up for anything, because I've seen there's too many stories people have all through the years, so. But yeah, we went to the Winter Nationals, did that, crashed the week before at preseason testing, you know, blew a tire, totaled the car, hadn't even been to a race yet. So then we were running Snake's car at my first race, go to the semifinals, and then for the second race, which would be Phoenix, we brought in, had a car from Murph McKinney ordered. And so put that together. So I got, in 3 weeks, I'm driving 3 different cars, you know, and which was probably good, because it kept us really busy and kept my mind from thinking about things. And yeah, the second race out, go to the finals against Shelly Anderson. And there's so many things that go through your head. You know, because you know, people like John Force he's won more races than anybody else in the world, but it took him, I don't know how many years before he won his first. You don't know what your script is, you know, and you hope that yours will go better than that. But winning the second race out, it was like, you know, I'd already done more than I ever hoped. You know, like my dad raced his whole life, he won one national event, you know, and like I can go to my second race and win, you know, it's a great, awesome car, awesome team, and good people, and you surround yourself with great people, you can achieve great things. And so I was definitely the weak link of the bunch, but man, it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of led me into my next question. Did you think, wow, this isn't that hard, or I must really be that good, or anybody can win behind the wheel of this car? The thing, if you do this, Roland Leong has a saying that you always make friends on the way to the top, because you're going to see them same people on the way down. And, you know, racing with my dad, and then, gosh, even racing at Snake, you know, Snake had a spell where he didn't win a race for 5 years or something like that. So it's like, like, I would never take anything for granted. You don't know. When you win a race, you don't know if that's your last win. So you better appreciate it. And I think I always have, because it's like, you don't know when your last one is. So did I think it was easy? No. But
I'm gonna enjoy the ride that I'm on while I'm riding it.
You lost Blaine Johnson. Did it ever really occur to you just how dangerous it was, what you were doing, or did you take for granted that this was as dangerous as it was?
I am such the wrong person to ask this question to, because when I get in that car and I'm strapped in, I feel like I could run over a minefield and that car is going to take care of me. And if you don't have that feeling when you're in that car, I got no clue how you could drive it like you stole it, because it's like, that car is going to take care of me. And obviously I've had my spills, but you know what? I'm here talking to you doing this right now. So like and I've had moments like you're upside down or you're on fire or you're flying through the air, you know, like, is this it? You know, like, but it's the Lord and my safety equipment and everything that you do to prepare has taken care of me. I can tell you that you everything that I've had happen in my life, whether you talk about crashes or cancer or whatever like that, and none of them got me. I'm on this earth for something else, and I don't know what that is even yet, but I know that it's those weren't my times, and I hate it. The friends that I've lost, you know, like even you go on your phone and you see, you know, guys that aren't here anymore, and I don't even want to take them out of my phone. I keep them close. But you can't. My father-in-law says every man dies, but not every man lives. Like you gonna hide in a closet, or are you gonna live? And so I don't think our sport's dangerous. Which is probably why when I crashed at Gainesville, I got to go on CNN and all the morning shows, because I'm telling them, like, no, it really isn't. And they think I'm nuts, but I'm comfortable in my environment. Like that car, I'd rather be in that car in anything that you could dish out versus my pickup truck with airbags and all that other kind of stuff, because let me tell you, like, I'm prepared for bad things to happen in this thing, and it's going to take care of me, and it has. The thing about working for Snake, and I ended up working there for 20 years, if you're going to last there any period of time, you know, you could check your ego at the door, because there isn't, I mean, it's Don Prudhomme Racing, it's his team. Anything that I could ever do, he's done more of, so like you're just, and it's okay. Like I don't need to be the headlines. I'm driving Snake's car, and I'm cool with that. You know, I've always been, even like winter circle pictures, I've always been weird about, like, I don't like holding the trophy. I don't have as many wins as some guys, but I'm gonna say like 95% of them, I got the trophy sitting on the roll cage. That's the team. It's not the driver's trophy. It's what our team's report card for the weekend is, and it's not about me. It's about we, and so I've always been that way about it. So and maybe I was that way before I even realized I had a choice in the matter. You know, I mean, I started at Don Prudhomme's at 20. You know, and he's always. I was, you know, when I started driving, I was shocked people wanted my autograph. Like, really, like. This guy's won, you know, all these races, all these championships, all these Indy wins and all this stuff, and like, like I hadn't done anything, and still, like, you know, on a legend status, like, you know, Garlitz and Snake and Shirley and all these people that, you know, cut their teeth and paved the road that, you know, us kids, but I ain't a kid anymore, but us kids could, you know, go down that path. They're the ones that made it possible for us to do this. So I'd like to think I never had that big of an ego. Like, that ain't my, you know, I wanted to be in the winner's circle picture. That means we did the best over the weekend. And I don't care who got credit for it.
How tough was it to leave Snake?
It probably one of the toughest decisions of my life. But I mean, the Skoll was leaving drag racing, you know, that and then there was this opportunity, you know, that another job. You know, there's not a lot of jobs out here, and there's even less jobs out here now. And you got a gal, you got kids. I needed a job. I needed to make sure I had a job, and there wasn't. And you know, Snake made it clear that he wasn't going to continue racing, and he made it, you know, crystal clear that he wasn't gonna like pass the team over to me or let me buy the team or do any of that. So it's like I had 12 months to figure it out. You know, what are you gonna do after this? So I didn't have a lot of choices at that point. You know, like nobody wants it to end. But it was ending, you know. It ended.
If you knew the team was ending and the Snake knew the team was ending, how come there was so much friction between you guys when it did part and you did decide to leave?
I don't know. Maybe there's still that competition side of things, you know, like you know, I know at one point he was like, you know, pissed off because it's like then I could land on my own feet, you know, like, and I did have a job. I got a job, you know, and it just, and leaving, I guess, you know, and Snake's been like that through the years, you know, when you're fighting his fight, you're part of the team, but then if you're not fighting his fight, then you're very much not on the team anymore. So, I get it. I'd seen it through the years with the different crew chiefs. You know, as soon as it's done, you're not fighting his fight anymore. So, I mean, it sucks the way it is, but I love the guy, but that's where we're at.
Was that relationship did it ever come back around, or?
No.
Never did?
No.
Does that disappoint you?
Yeah, but I knew. Just, I knew it would be like that when I was even considering, you know, leaving. Just from, you know, other situations that have came up in the 20 years that I worked there with other people, that's just kind of how it is, and I knew that, but you know, there again, I can't retire. Like I got mouths to feed, so I need a job.
No real promising ride like you'd had before. How tough was that for you to deal with? I'm out on my own again.
It's
Had you ever really been out on your own?
Before racing, I guess. I guess it depends how you look at it. You know, at least from my standpoint, you can't possibly believe that you could spend your entire life having these great opportunities. You know, like there's going to be give and take with it. So, you know, had a lot of great cars, great teams, great runs, great jobs. You know, and then not so much anymore. So you got to reset your goals and your perspective, and so. But I'm working on stuff. so I'm excited about things that I got going on for the future, and you know, I mean, not that I'm looking at this 2-car Larry Dixon fully funded, like I don't know what the future holds for me, but I know, you know, I believe in my Lord, and I think He's got great things that He's going to plan with my life. And I don't know if it's being a full-time Top Fuel guy, or a full-time funny car guy, or maybe it's an alcohol funny car guy. I don't know, but whatever's in store, I'm excited about it. And when I get there, I'll appreciate it.
Do you kind of feel like the stick and ball player who's was once on the Yankees and lost his spot on the roster and just haven't been able to get on with another team?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great question. I think that given the opportunity, you know, like, for example, like, you know, just hiring over at Vandergrift for that year and a half. You know, we didn't have anywhere near the budget or the personnel or anything like that to be able to compete with those guys. And, you know, that 1 year, and then Mike Goover's tuning our car, and it's his first year that he's ever done it, and we finished 4th in the points. It's the best this team's ever finished. You know, like, so, you know, like, so you know that you can still get it done, you know, if you're provided the resources to be able to do it. You just got to be put in position to do it. So you you can only control what you can control and not have sour grapes about the rest of it. So it's not, just got to wait for the next opportunity. And I don't know where that's coming from.
Speaking of, you can only control what you can control. Tell me about the day and the emotions you found out I get cancer.
It makes losing a job or losing on a hole shot or whatever, it makes all that stuff look really, really just trivial. I don't even know how to put that, because there's so many things that run through your, you know, the things that I thought about is like, you know, like I didn't even think about me. Like I'm back to my family again, and your kids. Like that's what you know, I'm not fighting for my life for me. It's like I'm fighting for my life, because like there's a lot of stuff that I want to do with my family, and I'm not done yet. So so that's your, you know, whatever it takes you to get yourself charged up and fight, like, you know, whether you get in the car or, you know, get on a, you know, the laser beam table, as we called it, you know, whatever you got to do to figure it out and get motivated to fight, that's what you got to do. And that's kind of what I did. You know, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time belly aching about me. There's so many people that have their own story of cancer or a family member of cancer that it would be embarrassing if I said, why me? Like, why not me? Yeah, I mean, I go to IU Cancer Center and get my treatment, and it's right next door to Riley, and they got these little kids in there. It's like, you know, what, like, how is that fair? You know, it's like you hope that everything that's being done with the research that is, you know, that they're fighting it and curing it, and hopefully at some point in time in my lifetime that they're preventing it, and that's what I hope for. And I feel really blessed that I had a type of cancer that she said that, you know, going through everything and catching it the way it did, going through, that it's 98% curable. And I'm like, 98%? There again, me being a racer. When I rolled to the starting line, I only got a 50% chance of winning. You know, like, she telling me I got a 98% chance of winning. Like, so I'm winning. Like, I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm all in. Whatever we got to do, let's do it. Me, I've always tried to treat people how I want to be treated, number one. I don't think of myself any above doing anything for anybody. There's things I've done on the racetrack that I'm proud of, There's things off of the racetrack that I'm proud of. I'm proud of my kids, Being a dad, like that's it's cooler than winning a championship. I can tell you, because I can compare them, I love that. Doing something for somebody. I'd like to be remembered for stuff like that more than on-track stuff. I feel very blessed for the opportunities on the track, but just trying to be a good person, role model to my kids. Kind of don't bellyache about cancer. It's like, screw cancer. We're gonna fight it. We're gonna beat it. Let them know that that's not the end. That's the beginning. Just things like that. I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm a doer.